Your knees do not just give up on you overnight. It starts as a tiny bit of stiffness when you first roll out of bed, but it disappears in 5 minutes, so you push it out of your mind. Then the stairs start to feel a little different. Not exactly painful yet, but you find yourself moving slower than you used to. And a year down the road, you are using your arms to push yourself out of a chair. Your knees just do not trust themselves anymore. And the worst part, you still have no idea what started the decline. Here is what most people miss. Cartilage does not wear down just because you're getting older. It wears down because silent inflammation has been chewing through your joints for years, and you never felt a single thing until that cushioning was already dangerously thin. So you reach for a tub of collagen powder. You think you are replacing what you lost, but here is something the supplement industry does not want you to think about too carefully. Your stomach treats that expensive powder exactly like a piece of chicken or a hard-boiled egg. It breaks the protein into basic building blocks and sends them wherever it wants, which means they might never even reach your knees. The real problem is not that you are missing collagen in your diet. It is a group of enzymes called matrix metalloproteinases, and they are actively eating away at the cartilage you still have. As long as they are running wild in your joints, you are going to lose cushioning much faster than your body can ever hope to replace it. Certain plant compounds can do two things that collagen supplements never will. They block those destructive enzymes while signaling your cells to produce fresh hyaluronic acid and lubricin. These are the actual ingredients of the fluid that keeps your joints moving smoothly. And there are 5 specific routes that deliver those compounds in a form your body has understood for thousands of years. One of them has been almost completely forgotten by modern medicine. Route number 1, ginger, the circulation igniter. Most people think of ginger as a simple remedy for nausea, but the compounds that make your mouth feel warm do something remarkable inside your knee joint. Here is the thing about cartilage that almost nobody talks about. It has no blood supply of its own. It depends entirely on synovial fluid to deliver nutrients and remove waste. If the circulation to that synovial membrane is sluggish, your cartilage essentially starves. Ginger changes that. The compounds inside it, known as gingerol and shogaol, increase blood flow directly to that membrane. More oxygen, more nutrients, faster repair. You cannot rebuild what you cannot feed. Ginger also inhibits the same inflammatory enzyme targeted by ibuprofen, but it does this without damaging your gut lining in the process. One study on osteoarthritic knees found that ginger extract matched the pain relief of standard anti-inflammatory medication over 6 weeks. The people taking ginger also reported far fewer side effects than the medication group. Less pain today, better repair conditions for tomorrow. That is a powerful combination. Now, here is something that really matters about preparation. Heat from simmering converts gingerol into shogaol, and that version is more potent and easier for your body to use. Slice about 2 grams of fresh ginger root, roughly a thumb-sized piece, into thin coins. Simmer in 2 cups of water for 15 minutes with the lid on. Strain it. Drink it warm first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. This maximizes absorption through the gut lining and prepares your knees for the movements of the day ahead. Ginger opens the door for healing, but the next route walks through that door to shut down destruction at the source. Route number 2, turmeric, the inflammation silencer. If ginger is the ignition for your joints, turmeric is the brake system. The active compound called curcumin blocks the master switch for inflammation inside your body. When that switch is flipped on, it triggers a cascade of destructive enzymes at your cartilage surface. Curcumin flips it off. But here is the mistake almost everyone makes. Raw turmeric powder barely absorbs into your system at all. Because curcumin is fat soluble, your body clears it from the bloodstream within an hour. Unless you pair it with a fat sauce and black pepper, the piperine in black pepper slows down curcumin metabolism by up to 2,000%. That gives the compound enough time to actually reach your knee tissue. And a study comparing curcumin to a prescription anti-inflammatory called diclofenac found that the root matched the drug for pain reduction over 4 weeks. The drug group dealt with the usual stomach issues. The curcumin group had the same relief with zero gastrointestinal side effects. The best way to take this is by making a golden paste. Mix 1/3 cup of turmeric powder with 1 cup of water in a pan. Add 1.5 teaspoons of freshly ground black pepper along with 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. Stir constantly over low heat for 7 minutes until it forms a thick paste. Store this in a glass jar in the fridge for up to 2 weeks. Take half a teaspoon daily, stirred into warm water or added directly to the ginger drink you just learned how to make. Ginger and turmeric together manage the fire and the fuel, but the next root reaches deep into the joint capsule, where the mechanical damage has already set in. Root number 3, Devil's Claw, the deep tissue specialist. This one does not come from your spice cabinet. It comes from the dry sands of the Kalahari Desert. The plant is called Devil's Claw because the root looks like a tangled mess of hooked barbs, and inside those strange claws is a compound called harpagoside. This is where it gets interesting. Most things you take for inflammation only work on the outer membrane. Harpagoside diffuses through dense connective tissue to reach the fluid-filled spaces where the real damage is happening. Once it gets there, it blocks 2 different inflammatory pathways at the same time. Most modern drugs only target one. That dual action is exactly why it works on knees that have not responded to anything else. European clinical trials tested Devil's Claw extract against a placebo for people dealing with osteoarthritic knee pain. After 8 weeks, the root group showed a massive improvement in knee flexion, meaning they could finally bend their joints without that awful grinding or catching feeling. Range of motion restored, not by masking symptoms, by changing the environment inside the joint capsule itself. Now, the preparation mistake that almost everyone makes with this root: most people boil it. Heat destroys the active compounds and turns the root into expensive tea mulch with no healing power at all. You need a cold soak. Take 1 teaspoon of dried Devil's Claw root and drop it into a cup of cold water. Cover the cup and let it sit for 8 hours, or just leave it overnight. Strain it in the morning and drink it cold. The taste is not great, but it is the only way to make sure the nutrients actually reach your deep joint tissue. One important note before we move on: if you take blood thinners, skip this root entirely. It has its own thinning effects that could cause unexpected bleeding when combined with medication. It is also not recommended during pregnancy or if you have gallstones. Devil's Claw works from deep inside, but this next root has been used for hundreds of years to actually help knit your tissue back together. Root number 4, Comfrey the tissue knitter. Long before we had x-rays or modern surgery, Bone doctors were already using comfrey to help heal fractures. They packed broken limbs in comfrey wraps because they could see with their own eyes how much faster the body recovered. People started calling the plant knit bone, and today we finally understand the science behind why it works so well. Comfrey contains a compound called allantoin that tells your body to start building new connective tissue. It also has rosmarinic acid, which clears away the inflammation that usually stops your healing cells from doing their job. When these two work together, they speed up the growth of new cells in your tendons, ligaments, and the outer layers of your cartilage. Not just calming the pain, actually giving your body the signal to start rebuilding. But here is the most important thing to remember about this root. You can never take comfrey internally. The plant contains certain alkaloids that can accumulate in the liver and cause serious health problems over time. Many countries have banned its internal use entirely, and this one is an external medicine only. Make a warm compress for your knee. Take 2 tablespoons of the dried root, which works better than the leaves because it contains more of those healing compounds. Simmer in 2 cups of water for 20 minutes with a lid on. Strain the liquid and soak a clean cloth in it. Wring out the extra water and apply the warm cloth directly to your knee for about 30 minutes. Best done right after a warm shower. When your skin is open and ready to absorb, you will feel it as a softening of the joint, a release of that tight, grippy feeling around your kneecap. Comfrey works from the outside in, but the final root on this list works from the inside out, and it may be the most overlooked of them all. Root number 5, burdock, the forgotten synovial rebuilder. You have probably walked right past it at the farmer's market without giving it a second glance. A long, brown, unremarkable stick, but inside that humble exterior is exactly what your knees have been missing. Burdock is packed with inulin, a special fiber that feeds the good bacteria in your gut. When those bacteria process that inulin, they create short-chain fatty acids that travel through your blood and go straight to your joints. Once they arrive, they shut down the same inflammatory master switch that turmeric targets, but they do it from a completely different direction. Turmeric blocks that switch directly. Burdock starves the signal before your body even sends it. Using both together is far more effective than either one alone. And have you ever handled fresh burdock? It feels slippery when it gets wet. That slipperiness comes from mucilage, gel-like substance that acts almost exactly like the fluid inside your joints. When you eat burdock regularly, these compounds give your body the raw materials to create lubricin and hyaluronic acid, the 2 main parts of your joint cushioning, not replacing your joint fluid from the outside, giving your body the ingredients to make more of its own. That is the difference between temporary relief and lasting results. There is another secret inside this root called arctigenin. Most anti-inflammatory roots focus only on the pain and the swelling. Arctigenin actually works on the physical destruction of the joint itself, stopping one of the most aggressive enzymes that eats away at your cartilage. That is what separates managing symptoms from actually slowing down the disease process. Find fresh burdock root at most Asian markets or health food stores. Scrub it clean without peeling it because most of the medicine lives right under the skin. Slice it into thin rounds and toss it into your soups, stews, or stir-fries. It has an earthy flavor, something between an artichoke and a parsnip. Eating it 3 or 4 times a week is the only protocol you need. If you cannot find it fresh, the dried root works perfectly as a tea. Simmer 1 tablespoon of dried root in 2 cups of water for 20 minutes. You will notice the water gets slightly thick as the mucilage releases. Strain it and drink it warm in the evening. Burdock has a mild, calming effect that helps you sleep deeper, and your joints do most of their repair work overnight. One small thing to note, burdock acts as a mild diuretic. If you take potassium-sparing medication or have kidney issues, check with your doctor before using it daily, and otherwise this is one of the safest roots you can find, and one that has fed people across Europe and Asia for thousands of years. Now, before you start adding any of these roots to your routine, there is one thing I want you to do first. You need a baseline. Pain is tricky because it changes with your mood and the weather, but range of motion always tells the truth. Stand barefoot on a hard floor with a kitchen chair right behind you. Cross your arms over your chest. Slowly lower yourself into the seat without using your hands for balance. Count the seconds it takes you to go from standing to fully sitting under control. If your knees start to hurt or you feel like you are losing control halfway down, note exactly when that happened. That number is your starting point. Do this test once before you begin the roots, then once a week after that. When that time increases without added pain, you will know your joint is not just feeling better, it is actually functioning better. Now that you have your baseline, here is how to bring all 5 roots into your life without overwhelming yourself. You might be tempted to try all of them every single day. That is exactly how people burn out and quit before the body has time to respond. Follow a rhythm instead. Your morning starts with a ginger decoction on an empty stomach. When you sit down for your first meal, stir half a teaspoon of golden paste into warm water or add it directly to your food 3 or 4 times a week. Toss burdock root into whatever you are already cooking. 3 nights a week, drink your devil's claw cold maceration before bed. And on the days your knee feels particularly tight or grippy, use a comfrey compress after your shower. That is the entire system. These roots have been signaling human cells to protect and repair cartilage for thousands of years. Collagen powder has been around for about 30 years. These roots have been around far longer, and they truly know what they are doing. The stairs that slowed you down, that is not your future. That is just where you are right now. Start today. Give it 30 days. Your knees have been waiting long enough. And if this helped you, share it with someone you love who could use it too. Take care of yourself. I will see you in the next one.